That gets us to 3738.
Mayor, I'd like to move to postpone 3738. Or I can explain my motion and then see if I get support. But.
Okay. It's up just for first reading. You're wanting to postpone first
reading?
Yeah,
otherwise I'm just not ready to vote yes on it.
Okay, why don't you talk to us?
Sure. So 37 and 38 are cases on Riverside Drive or off of Riverside Drive, and I'm happy. It's in Councilmember Renteria's district, so I'm happy to have him touch base on them. The issue for me is that looking at the backup on this case, I felt generally comfortable moving forward on it. If you looked at page 7 in the backup, there's no answers next to residential, how many residential units would be demolished or residential units that are currently occupied. Those are blank. But then later into the backup, it does seem that there is the intent to demolish some number of multifamily units. And given the importance of our conversations on displacement, I'm not ready to vote yes on this because I'm not ready to support a zoning case on any reading where I don't have the knowledge that I need about who's being displaced, when would they be displaced, what protections might there be for those people, at what income levels are the folks that could potentially be displaced. And since in the application it didn't go through an HCD as it traditionally does when there is a displacement issue, I just haven't been ready. I just haven't had the time to address that. And while I traditionally am okay with things going on first reading, I can't vote yes on first reading on something that could have this displacement effect in an area where we are closely monitoring those issues.
Okay. Councilmember Renteria.
Yes, and I'm going to be supporting this. When I campaigned for my district, I actually advocate for adding density to the Riverside area, especially in that location. I know that my colleague Casar is concerned about displacement, but they're not ready to be developed yet. But we need to start doing something quickly, and I had the reassurance that there are going to be affordable units in this project. So, we can go ahead and have first reading and also at the same time, keep the public hearing open in case there is opposition to it. But I would like to go ahead and move on first reading.
Is it okay if we do this? Let's let Councilmember Renteria make the motion. It'll get seconded. I'll recognize you then for the motion to postpone, and then we'll vote on the motion to postpone, but we'll have the matter in front of us. Councilmember Renteria, do you want to move to pass this item?
Yes, I'll move to pass both items.
Okay, Councilmember Renteria moves to pass items 37 and 38, seconded by Councilmember Harper Madison.
On first reading, the public hearing.
This is on first reading and keeping the public hearing open. First reading, keeping the public hearing open. Councilmember Casar.
I'll move to postpone.
Councilmember Casar moves to postpone. Is there a second to the motion to postpone? Councilmember Garza seconds the motion. Discussion. Councilmember Flanagan.
And I'm in agreement with Councilmember Renteria on this, but I think this is why we have first, second, and third readings. So I'm ready to move forward on first, get the questions answered as we normally would on just about any zoning case. I mean, I don't disagree with your concerns, Councilmember Casar. I just think process-wise it's fine to move forward.
Councilmember Alter.
I'm inclined to defer to Councilmember Renteria for this in his district, but I would like to hear from the applicant if they have any kind of response to the questions that have been raised they'd like to comment on now.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm Leah Boja with Drenner Group, representing the applicant on these cases. We would like to move forward with first reading today. I'm more than happy, of course, to get with any offices who would like to answer those specific questions. I can confirm that there are units on the site today. I don't know why that's not in the staff backup. I apologize for that. I think the reason that maybe it hasn't gone through NHED, and I'm not completely familiar with the way this works on the back end, is because we don't have a site plan in process. We're doing this rezoning ahead of the site plan process, which is ahead of when tenant relocation and things like that come into play. But I would be more than happy, of course, to meet with all of you before we come back for second and third reading.
Councilmember Harper Madison.
Yes, and hopefully, Leah, you can answer or correct me if I'm wrong about any of this. So, like Councilmember Alter, I'm inclined to defer to Councilmember Renteria, but in my observation, I'm able to say that after discussing the displacement element, I was reassured by the fact that there's going to be some right to return element, and that currently what stands is sort of, I guess, what we discussed earlier about, in need of repair housing that's exclusively market rate. So I'm reassured by a more urban, more density compatible, especially in this transit corridor that's so close to major employers in transit. I think this is the kind of development that would be appropriate in this area, especially if there will be some inclusion of affordable housing. And that to say, I think Councilmember Renteria is spot on when we start talking about the increase in density, the increase in affordability. We have to identify what areas are appropriate for that type of development, and just make sure to take into consideration that we won't 100% of the time get it right as far as displacement is concerned. But if we can increase our housing stock, I think it's a good move. Items number 37 and 38.
Okay. This item's been moved. These two items have been moved and seconded. First reading approval. Close the public hearing. There's a motion to postpone. Motion. The public hearing kept open. Sorry, that's correct. Then a motion to postpone, which has been seconded. Let's vote on the motion to postpone.
And the last thing I'd say is that I look forward to continue talking about this case one way or the other, and respect everybody's thoughts here. I just want it to be, given the amount of displacement we've seen on Riverside, I just want to be as careful here as possible, given that there's just so many other areas of our city where we can add the housing that we need, and we need to be. I just want to be as extra careful as we can when we're adding housing where there already is housing that already is dense and multifamily. Not saying that we should never do that, but that we should just be extra careful in this area.
Okay. Motion to postpone. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Councilmember Casar. Councilmember Kitchen. Opposed, raise your hand. It's the balance of the dice. Motion to postpone does not pass. Ready to take a vote on these items? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Now we're voting on the motion to approve on first reading only, keep the public hearing open. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Councilman Casar votes no. The others voting aye. It passes. Thank you. Council members, I think that is all that we can do right now. There are a group of us headed up to the Capitol. I think that Councilmember Tovo is going to go in place of the Mayor Pro Tem, who will remain behind to convene the group at 4 o'clock to postpone the one item. It would be really helpful, in fact necessary, for everybody else to be here at 4 o'clock. So don't leave the building and come back and be here for that at 4 o'clock. You can then end the meeting, but it's my intent to be able to be back here with others for music at 5:30 and proclamations. Everybody should come back for that too. This meeting then is recessed until 4 o'clock.